We are hours away from the federal tax deadline of July 15th. And you might have last minute tax questions, or you might be thinking ahead to 2021. You might even be thinking, how should I be handling this PPP loan money that I received? Well, we are excited today because we're going to be jumping right into those questions with our special guest, Pam Balentine. Listen, we call her the people's CPA, and she is awesome. She's going to be talking to us, and she is the CPA with personality. And we're going to get right into it right after this quick intro.
Whoa. Why y'all so happy?
You don't know. Charvette Mitchell is on the radio.
It's time to get motivated, excited, and influenced. Why? It's the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show, live from Richmond, Virginia. And now, here to motivate, excite, and influence you, Charvette Mitchell.
Well, hello, and officially welcome to the Charvette Mitchell Radio Show, broadcasting live from the capital city of Richmond, Virginia, but heard all across the world wide webs. Hey, dolls, hey, gents. Thank you for those that are tuning in from charvette.com. Certainly all of our multi-streaming platforms all across the interwebs, the internet. Hey, Facebook, thank you for tuning in. Tell us where you are listening and watching from. Hello to those on Periscope and YouTube, and hey, Twitter, how you doing? And of course, all of our podcast distribution areas, iTunes and Spotify and Spreaker and all of those great places. We're so glad to have you joining us for another show, because you know the goal of my show is to motivate, excite, and influence. That's what we're going to do, and that's what we are doing right now. Shout out. Yes. Sharice, thank you so much for popping on in. She is sharing, saying, hey, we're going to be talking about PPP. Yes. Keep it locked right there. Shout out to my sister who is watching and listening in from Periscope, holding it down over there on Periscope. If you are participating from Periscope, just pump and give us some hearts. And shout out to my mom. Hey, girl. Hey, welcome. So, listen, let's jump on in to today's segment. I'm super excited to bring you expert guests. You know, we do this like all of the time, right? And so let me formally introduce Pam. She earned her bachelor's and master's degrees in accounting from Michigan State University. Shout out to those watching and listening from Michigan. Started her career at prestigious EY in Detroit, in the Detroit office. And she continued her career in auditing at various Fortune 500 companies. While there, she was building her empire on the side, Viking CPA Group. Listen, she's launched out full-time as of March 2017, and she took that leap of faith, and listen, no going back. I'm putting words in her mouth. No regrets and no going back. And she operates her accounting firm full-time, really specialized on small to mid-sized business owners, assisting with taxes and accounting and consulting needs. And listen, Pam prides herself on being a value add to her clients and forming relationships and being the CPA with personality. Without further ado, I'm bringing up to the mic right now. Hello, Pam. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, we are glad to have you. And listen, I acknowledge, I don't know if we thought about the actual date of this interview when we were doing it. So I know you are like slam. Did we even pay attention? So it lined up perfectly for us, but I was like, oh my gosh, she is like slam busy, I'm sure, with this deadline that is coming up, which we're used to having this rush, April 15th. But talk a little bit about what you have been kind of experiencing really the last couple of weeks as we are hours away from the deadline.
It's been crazy, and a lot of people are thinking, 3 extra months is a lot of time. But honestly, 3 months have gone by so fast in the wake of all the pandemics that we're in right now. So the last few weeks have been crazy, just people really needing to get their taxes done. People are still working on their 2019 financial statements. And then people still having questions about PPP, SBA loans, and just people are nervous, they're scared, they're behind. So just part CPA, part therapist, dealing with all of that.
all of that melds in. So what we
Yeah.
want to definitely use your time wisely, because I know I know you got stacks of stuff to do, and I'm excited because you are my accountant, but I am not in that rush. I am not in the rush. So
Yeah.
I'm lucky to say that. So let's start with some last minute tax tips. Any last minute things, maybe a couple of last minute things, and we could, if we want to split it up and talk about individual filing versus business.
Okay, yeah. One tax tip is extensions are not bad. I don't know why people are afraid of filing extensions. If
Uh-huh.
you're not ready, you're not ready, and that's fine. So extensions give you, for this year, 3 extra months. Usually it's 6, but we're already in an extension. So you have until October 15th to file. One tip with that though, if you owe taxes, there's no extension for that. You have to pay by tomorrow. But if you need more time to get ready with your paperwork and your actual filings, then you need to file the extension. And we have until October 15th for that. So that's for individuals and businesses. Well, not all businesses, but that's another conversation.
That's another show. So if you want to do an extension, then you have to fill out an extension form that has to be filled out by tomorrow.
Yes, yes. And if you typically owe, make a payment with that extension as well. So then that's no penalties or interest if you owe when you file in October. If you don't owe, you can still file an extension. There's no rush for that. But you definitely want to do the extension because there's penalties for filing late, penalties for paying late, and we don't want to give them any more money than what we have to.
All right. So you heard that. And I put a note here. If you have a tax question, just let us know in the comments and in the chat here. We'll be glad to share with you. And if you're just popping in, we're chatting with Pam Balentine, the CPA with personality. So, okay, so that's one last minute tip. Were there any big changes that you saw that are impacting people?
For this year, not a lot of huge changes outside of just the rush with the whole quarantine and everyone's business or individual things changed. Not too much change with the tax law for this year. That was all last year stuff. So no, everything's pretty even keeled, so to speak.
Okay, good. And so I want to jump backward. And so I wanted to hit a couple tips for those that are like coming on in, and I know that all of the streaming platforms are inviting you guys in. How did you even go down this pathway of saying, I want to be the numbers girl?
I took an accounting class in high school. Shout out to Flint Northern High School. And I was the only one in the class that actually understood what was happening. Everyone was so confused. And this is like pen and paper accounting, not typing things into the computer. So my teacher at the time sat down and like, you really need to look into this as a career because you get it. And he's like, this is not an area where people get it right away. It's either you get it or you don't, you love it or you don't. So that really is what piqued my interest in accounting. Now, when I got to college, it was harder than that high school class, of course, and I thought about changing, but it's just so many opportunities to help businesses and to grow and to learn in this field. So I just stuck it out, and it's been a blessing for me. I really enjoy it, and you don't hear that at all.
Right, you don't hear that. And so there's a lot of different areas you could have gone into related to accounting. What landed you with the small to mid-sized businesses?
Well, I started in auditing, and that was with large public corporations. And that's really where I learned so much about business. But, I was just a number. They didn't really need me personally. I was just doing the work behind the scenes that anybody could do. But when the whole wave of entrepreneurship started happening, a lot of my friends were going into business, and I found no one really understands accounting, but accounting is the language of business. So that kind of geared me towards being a small business accountant, helping business owners understand their numbers, because that's really key in growing and scaling a business.
Wonderful. And so understanding the numbers, let's talk about some of the numbers we need to understand.
Yeah. First and foremost, sales. What are you bringing in? What are you selling? And understanding that that's not money that you're keeping, right? Because you have those expenses. So that's another number you need to understand what's coming in and what's going out, and tracking and monitoring that. The difference between those two numbers is your profit. I so often hear business owners like, I didn't make that much in profit. It's not in my bank account. Totally different things, right? So being
Yeah.
able to track what's in your bank account versus what your business profit is and know why there's a discrepancy there, those are the type of things that accounting systems and software can help you understand. So tons of other numbers, those are the main ones, right? Revenue, expenses, profit, and cash.
All right. And so if someone says, I need to increase my profits, like the money I'm keeping, do you have any initial tips for them?
It's a lot that can go into that, Charvette. One, how's your pricing for whatever you're selling, whether it's products or services? Are you priced accurately? Two, what is your expenses? Are you spending too much money? So a mixture of those two. Of course, with marketing, getting new customers, that's not me, that's you. But that plays a role in it, right? So
Yeah.
if your pricing is right, and if you can't cut down expenses, even though you probably can, but if you feel like you can't, it could just be a matter of, well, you need more customers. So it's a lot of factors that go into keeping the cash in the business, but one is pricing, making more money, and then saving more money.
All right. And while people are listening, can you let them know how they can connect with you online?
Absolutely. I am on Instagram at Pam the CPA. That's probably the best and easiest way to remember, Pam the CPA.
All right. Quick and easy. And I have tags all over. Listeners, I have tags all over. So those are easy connection points. And for those that are hanging out at charvette.com, that's an easy place to be. Okay. And so welcome to all those. We see you popping on in. Thank you so much. If you have questions, just let us know in the chat. If you are listening live to all of this, we're glad to have you. All right. So going forward for 2021, what should we be doing now so that we are looking good for the next tax year?
Yeah, great question. If coronavirus didn't teach us anything, it's to be prepared at all times, right? So if you don't have an accounting software, or if you don't have a way to easily generate financial statements, now is the perfect time to get set up for that. Not only will it help you understand your business and your numbers, but it will make it so much easier at tax time to just generate a report and say, here you go, this is my income, here's my expenses, and then create your tax forms based on that. Other things to keep in mind is, a lot of people are doing a lot of pivoting with being online, selling new products. So just making sure you're compliant with sales taxes if you're selling tangible items. I really feel like the IRS is really going to try to recoup a lot of funds. So just making sure you have your ducks in a row, all of your paperwork, receipts, anything that you need to back up everything that you've done in your business. Now's a good time to start gathering those things, so then it's not a rush at the end of the year. We're midway in the year. We can catch up the last 6 months and then get a good system going forward.
Okay, I love that. And do you have favorite accounting systems and tools?
QuickBooks Online is my favorite, but there are others as well. I like QuickBooks because it can integrate with your bank. There's tons of apps and add-ons. You can invite an accountant to share your files so they can kind of peek in, make sure you're on the right track. But there are others like FreshBooks and Xero that I find a lot of people who are not accountant savvy find that a little bit more user-friendly.
All right, so there's some tools. So this is a good spot for a quick commercial break. So we're going to let you hang out in the virtual studio while we take the commercial break. But when we come back, we want to hear more about the PPP loans and all of this money that was dispersed and some guidelines. And I know you have like a free resource that people can grab of how to handle this money. All right, so we'll let you hang out back there in the virtual studio. Again, for all those that are listening in, thank you so much for coming on in. And if you're listening or watching at any other time, we thank you. Go ahead and share this out with friends and associates on your timeline. And what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with the rest of our show.
Strategically Inspired Solutions is your source for personal and professional development services. Our dedicated team of transformational coaches, speakers, and consultants know how to drive innovation and deliver high-impact results. In our one-on-one or group coaching programs, you will discover and design the authentic life you have always desired. Strategically Inspired Solutions also offers comprehensive consulting services to small, mid-size, and large firms. We invite you to join our family of clients and partners by visiting our website at www.sismotivation.com. We look forward to working with you in creating a newfound purpose, vision, and energy for yourself, your company, and within your communities.
All right. Shout out to Sis Motivation. You can check them out on Facebook and also sismotivation.com. All right. So let's jump back on in as we talk about the money today with Pam Balentine. I'm going to bring her back up on air into the stream here. And so there was a comment that came in before the show around when do you know you need to hire a CPA? Any thoughts around that?
That's a good question. So if you are thinking about launching a business, you may want to at least consult with one. Not saying you have to be on retainer at that time, but at least make sure your entity is set up properly. Understand as a business owner what it means to pay business taxes quarterly, make sure your business entity is set up properly. So that's when you want to consult with one. If they're a good CPA, they'll let you know, okay, you don't need me on a retainer. However, if you need me at any time, let me know. And then once you continue to grow, once you can't manage the money anymore, you don't know where the money's going or coming from, and you just have questions at all times, that's probably a good point to hire one full-time, or at least on a monthly basis, hourly basis, however they choose to work with you. But I would at least consult with one right away.
Okay. And so, and I know there are different terms out there like bookkeeper versus accountant. And can you talk a little bit about what each of those roles are?
Yeah, sure. So bookkeepers are great for small businesses that's just starting up. So what they do, they may manage the QuickBooks file or whatever software you're using just for data entry, right? So making sure all of your income's there, making sure all your expenses are there, everything matches what actually happened, and that's in the bank. And that's pretty much all they do at that point for a bookkeeper. The next level of accounting is for a little bit more complex business transactions. They may generate some financial reports for you and give those to you. Then you have a CPA who can, do taxes, and bookkeepers and accountants can do taxes too, but a CPA can represent you in front of the IRS if you're ever audited. They can sign off on certain loan documents that you may need as you advance in your career or in your business, and just a higher level version of an accountant, right? We have to take that, I was about to say a bad word, have to take that exam.
Caught yourself.
Memories, flashback and memories. We're held to a higher standard, licensed with the state, have to take tons of CPE credits. So just a higher intense level of an accountant with more responsibility and liability, basically.
As well. All right. So let's jump into all of this money that kind of flooded the market from the Small Business Administration. And so I'd love for you to give some guidance on like PPP. Let's start there. So people that receive the money, how should they handle that in their accounting?
Yeah, good question. So PPP is a loan. However, it's an option for it to be forgivable if you use it based on the guidelines. Of course, because it is called the Paycheck Protection Loan. A lot of those funds need to be used for payroll. So what I've been recommending to my clients is either get a separate bank account for those funds or find a way in your accounting software to really track how you're using those funds, because you will have to generate an application and a report for that forgivable portion. So when you get the funds, they are deemed as a loan until you get approved for them to be forgiven. So there's been tons of changes, tons of questions, still things up in the air, but high level, about 60 or 75% of the funds have to be used towards payroll. The remaining portion has to be used towards operating expenses. So like your rent, utilities, you can pay interest. You cannot pay off any loans or anything like that. So that's kind of how you can use the funds for the PPP for them to be forgiven. If they're not forgiven, then you have maybe 2 or 5 years, depending on where you fall, with the new guidelines for PPP, but to pay that back.
Okay. And when you said rent, that's business rent, not your
Yes,
house.
business, not your house, not a portion of your house. Even though I do know a lot of us entrepreneurs work from our home, it doesn't count. It has to be an actual building that you've had already in your business.
All right. And so pretty much if you can document how you used it, that is the key thing, which is was what accounting really is all about, having good documentation.
Documentation is key. Like if you don't have documents, it didn't happen.
So can you talk about the grant piece and how do you handle that? Is it on the tax return and how is all that handled?
Oh, so from the emergency loan standpoint with that grant? Yes, so that is non-taxable income that does not have to be paid back. So if you applied for the emergency injury disaster loan, so the EIDL, then you may have received a grant portion for that. So it's non-taxable income that does not have to be paid back. However, the EIDL portion is an actual loan from the SBA that does have to be paid back, but favorable terms. It's like 3.75% over 30 years. So it's like a mortgage almost. But documentation for that is key as well, because with the EIDL, you can get audited based on how you're using those funds. So even for that portion, either get a separate bank account or find a way in your accounting software to easily track how you're spending those funds.
Awesome. Thank you. And Cheryl is saying, thank you. You are welcome. You are welcome. Awesome. Awesome. And so the PPP, is that taxable income, the PPP loan?
It is not. So any type of loan that you received is not taxable income. Once it is forgiven, it's still not taxable income. There is debate going on, however, that the funds and the expenses that you do use the PPP on is not tax deductible. That's a huge deal. So those payroll expenses and utilities and rent, whatever you typically write off for deductions, may not qualify if you use the PPP loan on that. So that's still something they're trying to fight through, because that's still going to hurt a lot of small businesses if they can't use that for write-off. So to be determined, as everything else is to be determined.
That's why they need to talk to someone like you. How can someone have a consultation and connect with you?
Yeah, so the best way is to email me. So pam@vikingcpagroup.com. If that's too long to remember, Instagram messages, Pam the CPA.
And also, if you're hanging out on Facebook, Viking CPA Group right there, and we've tagged in those various posts also. But Instagram is a great place. We also put some posts over there, so those are great connection points. And you need an accountant that knows what they're doing in this space if you've got the money. And so moving forward, we have the money or we don't, and then the money's gone, right? So people can't really get any more.
Yeah, the money's gone, but we've heard that before too, right? So I would just say keep your documents together, keep your ears open, eyes open. They may get some more funding. Who knows? They said the PPP closed before too, and then it reopened. So to be determined, like everything.
To be
It's very
determined.
interesting time for sure, and things
Yeah,
are changing daily. So.
daily. What's been the biggest question, tax related question you've received? I'd say really since the pandemic, really.
It's been quite a few. Mainly is how do I function with this PPP? I got a lot of clients or potential clients, people who just, and that's how I am as a person. Like if you have questions, I'm gonna answer. It may not be the best business model, but during these times, I think we all have to provide grace. But I had a lot of people receive the funds and are terrified to even spend it because they don't know the implications of it, how to track it, what to do. And so having that accounting software is key. If you already had one set up, it wasn't a huge deal. But now people who are getting money and don't know how to track it, don't know what to do with it, they're a little bit concerned and confused. So that's the biggest question. And then, of course, just how to function as a business owner, especially new business owners, in paying taxes. So, they don't teach us that in school. So really just those are the huge questions that I get all the time.
But what I would say is those that were prepared with their financials were ready to apply and ready. Can you talk a little bit about like having your stuff together
Yes.
lets you put you in a position to apply and even get things?
Yeah, I know the phrase, if you stay ready, you never have to get ready. I used to say that all the time, and I'm going to bring that back because it's so true. I had clients who are like, okay, well, I have whatever they need. My tax returns, I have my profit and loss, I have a balance sheet. And as soon as the application went up, they filled it out in like 5 minutes. I had other people come to me, oh, I still need this, or I still need 2019 financials. So, rushing to get that done because it was a time sensitive matter and the funds were going so quickly, rushing to get a full year's worth of financials together is complicated and it can get expensive. So if you have things set up already, we don't know what's going to happen with coronavirus or how long we'll be here or if something will happen again in the future. If we get access to funds like this again, I'm sure you want to be ready. So now is a good time to get ready.
All right, now's the good time. Well, listen, I think you have hit the nail on the head. Any other connection points or ways for people to engage with you? I know sometimes you do Tax Talk Tuesdays and all of that.
So on Facebook, like you mentioned, Viking CPA group on Facebook, Instagram, Pam the CPA, Pam Balentine on LinkedIn. So those are my main social media channels. I do Tax Talk Tuesdays. During quarantine, I forgot it was Tuesday a couple times, so I slipped up.
We give you grace.
I'm like, what day is it? Oh, but trying to stay consistent, giving people tips and facts that they may not know or just trigger their memory with things when it comes to both individual and business taxes.
Awesome. And the last question for you, the goal of the show is to motivate, excite, and influence. What continues to motivate you?
Seeing small businesses thrive is motivating for me, especially now we're in the wave of, Black Lives Matter, buying Black, and all of that is exciting to me to see people grow and flourish and knowing that accounting is key to that. So that kind of motivates me is everyone's pushing towards this wave. Okay, but let's make sure our finances are in order. Let's make sure we're not paying too much in taxes. So that is a motivating factor to me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for all of your work and everything that you do to help all of us. And you represent us so well, Pam. Thanks for stopping by the show. We're going to let you go back to probably the stacks and tax returns you got to get to.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thanks for being here. All right. Bye-bye. All right. There you have it, listeners. And amazing accounting resource for you. We've tagged everywhere. And if you're hanging out on charvet.com, there's a blog post there that has the information. And also, if you're listening from one of the multi-stream and also podcast options, you see more information about Pam there. We're excited for all those that tuned in. Shout out. Yes, great information. Thank you so much. Betty Mitchell, Cheryl said, you always have great info. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And for all of those that are going to catch this in the replay, if you are watching in the replay, put hashtag replay, no matter which platform you're on. And then certainly subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher and Spreaker and all of those great places. And so that's a wrap for today. We're going to be back next week with more amazing guests. Thank you so much. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Good show. Love you too. Thank you so much. That's a wrap. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
Live from Richmond, Virginia, you've been listening to the Charvet Mitchell Radio Show. Catch Charvet Mitchell every Tuesday at 6 p.m., interviewing all the stars you want to hear from. So until next week, stay motivated, excited, and influenced. This is the Charvet Mitchell Radio Show.